Imagine waking up in a world where the horizon itself feels restricted. The sky above Pyongyang stretches wide and blue, but everything beneath it is tightly controlled. The air is quiet, too quiet, as if sound itself obeys invisible rules. Streets are wide, empty, almost theatrical in their perfection. The grass along the boulevards is trimmed to precision. The portraits of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il stare down from every building like gods who never sleep. For the outsider, it feels like a set. For those who live here, it is life. But there exists another world within this world, a realm so hidden that even many North Koreans don't know it exists. Beyond the reach of propaganda broadcasts and choreographed parades, tucked into the folds of mountains, along sealed-off coastal towns, and deep inside the capital's most forbidden districts, lives Kim Jong-un's inner circle. A small, insulated class that experiences a version of North Korea so distant from the rest of the country, it might as well be another planet. These are the men and women whose loyalty has been tested, monitored, and proven over generations. They dine on imported wine, while the rest of the country survives on cornmeal. They live inside compounds protected by concentric rings of guards, censors, and silence. Theirs is a life not of freedom, but of controlled privilege, a gilded prison built on the fear of falling from grace. The world outside knows little of them. They are the invisible elite, the generals, scientists, entertainers, and family members who orbit Kim Jong Un like planets caught in his gravitational pull. They are allowed glimpses of the world beyond, sometimes traveling under aliases, always under watch. But once they return, their isolation resumes. Phones are confiscated. Conversations are recorded. Loyalty is measured in how completely one erases curiosity. To understand their world, one must first understand what trust means in North Korea. It is not earned, it is granted, and it can be taken away in a heartbeat. Within the elite's inner compounds, trust is a matter of survival. Entire families vanish overnight when one member speaks out of turn. Even those closest to Kim Jong-un live with an unspoken understanding. They are valuable only while they are useful. Their homes, known as special compounds or dacha zones, are built in secrecy across the country. From satellite imagery, they resemble luxury estates hidden within forests or beside private lakes. But they are surrounded by fences, checkpoints, and guards who patrol around the clock. No one enters or leaves without authorization from Pyongyang's State Security Department. Inside, life resembles something out of an old Soviet dream. Imported marble, European furniture, Japanese electronics, each item smuggled in through illicit channels, often from China. Kim's most trusted chefs prepare dishes with ingredients that ordinary citizens have never seen: mangoes, salmon, French cheese. Yet even these luxuries come at a price. Every meal is tasted for poison. Every glass of wine is tested. In this kingdom of privilege, paranoia is the most constant companion. The isolation of Kim's inner circle is not just physical, it is psychological. Most members of this elite class are forbidden from forming friendships outside the regime's approval. Their children attend exclusive schools where they are taught not only science and history, but the art of secrecy. They learn how to appear humble in public, how to speak about the great leader with reverence, how to suppress doubt. Their textbooks describe a world where North Korea stands alone against global corruption, where the rest of the planet envies their purity and strength. Imagine growing up in that world. You are told your nation is the envy of humanity. You believe that your leader is the son, the protector, the father. Yet outside your walled compound, millions struggle to find food. The lights go out every night across the countryside, while yours stay on, powered by private generators. You live in comfort, but your comfort is built on silence. To question it is to risk everything. This silence extends even within families. Husbands and wives do not always confide in each other. Parents watch what they say around their children. Every home is equipped with a line to the Central Monitoring Bureau, not officially called that, but known by everyone. Agents can listen in at any time. The fear of being reported has been woven so deeply into daily life that suspicion becomes instinct. It is easy to imagine this elite class as heartless, enjoying privilege while others starve. But within that isolation lies its own kind of suffering. They too are trapped. They cannot leave. They cannot choose. They cannot even fall out of favor without disappearing entirely. Many live in quiet terror, knowing that their position depends on a man whose moods are unpredictable, whose orders can erase decades of loyalty. At the center of it all is Jong Un himself. He lives between palaces, a network of secret residences connected by tunnels, underground rail lines, and secured roads that are cleared of traffic before he passes. Each palace is equipped with the latest imported technology, spa facilities, and private theaters. But these luxuries are not signs of happiness. They are signs of isolation. Every environment is sterilized, controlled, stripped of spontaneity. Kim himself lives surrounded by people, yet entirely alone. His inner circle mirrors this loneliness. They are expected to project devotion, to laugh when he laughs, to echo his jokes, to praise his leadership. When he hosts dinners, often lasting late into the night, the atmosphere is one of forced enthusiasm. Laughter fills the room, but every smile hides calculation. Every toast is a test of allegiance. Behind the laughter, one truth lingers. A single wrong word could end a life. Visitors from abroad, when carefully selected, are sometimes shown fragments of this world, sanitized, choreographed. They see Pyongyang's elite neighborhoods with their clean streets, their pastel-colored apartment blocks, their women in traditional dress-riding bicycles. They visit the Mansudae art studio, where gifted sculptors craft the regime's propaganda. They are told that artists live well, that loyalty brings comfort. What they don't see are the guards stationed outside each compound, the censored conversations, the quiet terror of losing one's rank. In Pyongyang, even among the elite, status is a fragile illusion. Today's inner circle can become tomorrow's outcasts. Over the years, Kim has purged dozens of high-ranking officials, generals, ministers, even family members, some executed publicly, others vanishing quietly. Their names are erased from history books. Their photographs are deleted from official archives. Within weeks, it is as if they never existed. This cycle of privilege and erasure is deliberate. It keeps the inner circle obedient. No one feels secure enough to challenge the leader. Each person's survival depends on absolute compliance. Even when Kim gifts cars, watches, or luxury homes, they come with invisible chains. The elite know these gifts are not rewards. They are reminders of dependency. Beyond Pyongyang, in secluded coastal regions, lie the special rest houses, vacation resorts reserved exclusively for Kim's inner circle. Unlike the barren countryside, these places shimmer with manicured beauty. Imported pine trees line the walkways. Villas overlook private beaches patrolled by armed guards. Some even have underground tunnels leading directly to the sea. Escape routes not for fleeing the country, but for Kim himself. It is in these compounds that the elite experience the illusion of freedom. They drink, sing, and relax, but always under watch. Surveillance cameras line the perimeters. Conversations are recorded. Bodyguards, though smiling, are trained to kill without hesitation. The walls are designed not to keep enemies out, but to keep secrets in. This world of isolation breeds a particular psychology, a mix of superiority and fear. Many of the elite genuinely believe they are protecting a sacred nation. Others simply cling to comfort. But beneath the surface, they share the same anxiety, that one day they will be summoned for questioning and never return. Occasionally, rumors escape. A defector whispers of an execution. A leaked satellite photo reveals another palace under construction. A smuggled USB drive from China shows a glimpse of luxury cars driving down empty highways. For most of the world, these fragments are all we have. But together they form a mosaic of contradiction, a regime that preaches equality while living in excess, a government that isolates its people while its leaders hide from their own creation. Inside the compounds, time itself seems distorted. Without exposure to outside information, without internet, without foreign media, the elite live in a manufactured reality. Their televisions show only state channels. Their newspapers praise the leader. Even when they receive international news through internal briefings, it is filtered, rewritten to confirm North Korea's superiority. And yet, there are cracks. The The children of the elite, especially those educated abroad in Switzerland or China, sometimes return with questions. They've seen how the rest of the world lives, they've tasted freedom. Some adjust by burying their curiosity. Others rebel quietly, listening to banned music, whispering forbidden thoughts. These whispers rarely survive long. The system has ways of absorbing disobedience before it spreads. Still, beneath the surface of obedience, a subtle fatigue grows. The same faces attend the same parties, repeat the same praises, wear the same masks. The inner circle's isolation becomes not just physical confinement, but existential weariness. When everything is monitored, even pleasure loses its taste. When everyone smiles because they must, joy becomes another form of performance. Imagine standing on a palace balcony overlooking Pyongyang at night. The city below is dim, the lights faint, except for the illuminated monuments dedicated to the leaders. Beyond the capital, the countryside is pure darkness. The only glow comes from the statues, eternal, unchanging, bright against the emptiness. For the inner circle, that view is both privilege and prison. They stand above a nation but beneath the shadow of one man. Every morning begins the same way. State radio plays hymns praising the leader. Guards salute. Servants prepare breakfast. Reports arrive detailing loyalty, production, foreign activity. Each file is reviewed carefully, not to understand truth, but to ensure stability. Truth, in this world, is dangerous. Only narratives are safe. At the heart of this silence lies a paradox. Those who live closest to power are the most afraid of it. They have everything, wealth, status, comfort, yet they own nothing. Their homes belong to the state. Their movements are dictated by permission. Their loyalty is their only currency, and it depreciates with every passing day. This is how Kim Jong Un's inner circle lives, in total isolation, surrounded by luxury, yet haunted by fear. Their existence is both enviable and tragic. They are the keepers of secrets that the world is not supposed to know. They are the actors in a grand illusion, the guardians of a narrative that sustains the regime. And in their silence, the truth of North Korea remains hidden, not by distance but by design. They live like ghosts in a gilded maze, where every path leads back to the same door, the one that opens only when the supreme leader commands it. There is a rhythm to control in North Korea, a pulse that beats quietly beneath the surface of everything. You can't see it, you can't touch it, but you feel it the moment you cross the line into the country's interior, where freedom and fear intertwine so seamlessly that they become indistinguishable. For the inner circle, this rhythm is not merely part of life. It is life. Every breath, every word, every glance is calibrated to fit within the invisible pattern of loyalty that sustains the regime. Inside Kim Jong Un's world, control is not enforced by visible chains. It is a psychological architecture, built with layers of faith, fear, and privilege. Each layer reinforces the other, until even the privileged cannot tell where belief ends and obedience begins. This is how the inner circle exists, not through blind loyalty, but through a loyalty so rationalized, so constantly rehearsed, that it feels like truth. The first layer is surveillance. It begins in childhood. For the offspring of the elite, known as the Paekdu bloodline youth, life unfolds under constant observation. They grow up in special schools where walls have ears. Teachers double as informants. Friendships are recorded in reports submitted to the Ministry of State Security. Every exam, every extracurricular activity, every conversation is weighed for signs of ideological deviation. When a child shows too much curiosity about foreign countries, a quiet note is filed. When a teenager whispers about life outside Pyongyang, a parent is called in for questioning. This happens not to punish, but to remind. The reminder is subtle but persistent. The state knows everything, and that omnipresence becomes internalized. By the time these children become adults, the habit of self-surveillance is complete. They do not need cameras in every room. The fear of being watched has already moved inside their minds. The second layer is ritual. Every member of the elite performs rituals of devotion that structure their days. Morning briefings begin with collective praise for Kim Jong Un. State media is not just watched. It is studied, memorized, repeated. Every photograph of the supreme leader must hang at a precise height. Every flower arrangement in his honor must follow approved color codes. Even applause is regulated. At public events, the rhythm and duration of clapping are standardized. To stop too soon or too late can be seen as disloyalty. These rituals serve a purpose beyond obedience. They create rhythm where thought might otherwise form. In a world where ceremony replaces conscience, no one has time to question. The repetition numbs reflection. The body performs loyalty long before the mind considers it. The third layer is privilege. It is the sweetest and most dangerous of all. The regime rewards loyalty not with freedom but with isolation wrapped in luxury. A car imported from Germany, a new apartment overlooking the Taedong River, access to private clinics, the right to shop at foreign currency stores where the shelves are lined with imported goods unseen by ordinary citizens. These privileges create dependency. Each one binds the elite closer to the regime that provides them. But privileges can vanish as easily as they appear. The same government that gifts can also confiscate. One wrong word, one careless expression, one perceived act of arrogance, and the car, the apartment, the clinic, the store, all gone. This is not merely punishment. It is recalibration. The regime teaches that luxury exists only by the grace of Jong Un. Gratitude is not optional. It is survival. Beyond these visible systems lies something even more intricate: information control. Within the inner circle, news flows through tightly managed channels. Foreign broadcasts are jammed, but certain officials receive curated briefings, selective translations of CNN, BBC, and Chinese state media. These reports are filtered to fit the government's narrative. If a global event can be twisted to confirm the regime's worldview, it is amplified. If not, it disappears. Imagine being one of those officials, reading about a world that feels distant and unreal. You know that the report in your hands is incomplete, but you cannot say so aloud. You begin to exist between two realities: the official one, where North Korea stands defiant and powerful, and the unspoken one, where you suspect the truth is very different. Over time, this duality becomes a kind of madness. You smile when ordered, you applaud when expected, but deep inside, you begin to fracture. The fractures show in small ways: in the hesitation before answering a question, in the flicker of doubt when watching state news, in the momentary silence after Kim Jong Un's name is mentioned. These tiny hesitations do not go unnoticed. The regime's security network is designed to detect even the smallest tremor of disobedience. Every elite family has an assigned liaison officer, part assistant, part spy. Their role is to manage logistics but also to monitor behavior. They attend family dinners, accompany children to school, and observe conversations. Their presence is polite, discreet but inescapable, a smiling warden in a velvet cage. Occasionally, one of these liaisons disappears. The explanation is always the same: reassignment. But everyone knows what it means. Someone spoke too freely. Someone failed to report. Someone trusted too deeply. In the aftermath, silence becomes thicker. Words are weighed more carefully. Jokes are avoided. Laughter feels dangerous. This atmosphere of fear does not always come from above. Often, it comes from within. The inner circle polices itself. Each member understands that the regime's survival depends on mutual suspicion. Families report on one another to prove loyalty. A son informs on his father to show ideological purity. A wife denounces her husband to preserve her status. Over time, betrayal becomes normalized, not as cruelty, but as duty. The result is a society where isolation is the price of privilege. Every person lives inside their own mental cell. Even within walled compounds, friendships are shallow, conversations rehearsed, trust is replaced by caution, affection is filtered through fear. The walls may be made of concrete, but the real prison is invisible. From time to time, cracks in this invisible prison surface in unexpected ways. A scandal erupts quietly, a minister accused of disloyalty, a general rumored to have spoken out of turn. Officially, no details are released. The next day, the man's name is gone from newspapers. His portrait is removed from public buildings. His family vanishes. Apartments are reassigned, possessions redistributed, records deleted. Within weeks, it's as though he never existed. The purge ritual has its own choreography. Late at night, black sedans arrive at the suspect's residence. Guards surround the building. The family is woken, blindfolded, separated. Neighbors hear nothing. The walls are soundproofed. By morning, the home stands empty, curtains drawn, doors locked. Silence returns. Inside the regime, these disappearances are both warning and reassurance. They remind the inner circle that power is conditional, that loyalty is measured in silence. And in that silence, Kim Jong Un's control deepens. But control cannot thrive without belief. And belief, in North Korea, is cultivated like a crop, carefully tended, protected from contamination. The state's propaganda machine produces a constant flood of devotion. Television shows, operas, films, songs, murals, all glorifying Kim Jong Un as a divine protector. These narratives are not only aimed at the masses, they are meant for the elite as well. Even the most powerful ministers are required to attend ideological study sessions. They watch documentaries praising the leader's genius, participate in discussions about his childhood, analyze his speeches as though they were scripture. The effect is hypnotic. Over time, repetition replaces reason, doubt becomes heresy. When Kim appears in person, the atmosphere transforms. Those who have seen him up close describe an almost supernatural tension. Guards stand motionless, eyes forward. No one speaks unless spoken to. Even breathing feels dangerous. Kim's presence demands total submission, not out of admiration, but instinctive fear. He is not merely a man in this context, he is the embodiment of power itself, and yet, for all his omnipresence, Kim remains hidden. He moves between palaces in secrecy, his travel routes disguised, his appearances unpredictable. Even his closest aides rarely know where he will be next. This unpredictability reinforces his aura. In a system built on uncertainty, control is maintained through absence as much as presence. Among the elite, this creates a peculiar form of devotion, one that blends reverence with terror. They celebrate his name but avoid saying it too often. They praise his leadership, but never speculate about his intentions. To guess what Kim is thinking is to overstep. To remain silent is to appear suspicious. Survival lies in mastering the art of perfect ambiguity. This ambiguity seeps into every interaction. Conversations between officials are carefully layered. The surface words are harmless, patriotic, but beneath them lies a coded exchange, subtle hints, cautious empathy, fleeting signals of shared humanity. Two people might talk for an hour and say nothing at all, yet understand everything. In this vacuum of truth, small acts of rebellion take strange forms. A whispered complaint about food rations, a brief eye roll during a speech, a pause too long after applause. These gestures mean nothing in most societies. In North Korea's inner circle, they mean everything. They are the only remaining expressions of individuality. Occasionally, someone attempts to escape this world. Not physically, but psychologically. A few elite members secretly tune in to foreign broadcasts using smuggled radios. Others watch banned South Korean dramas on hidden USB drives. These fragments of the outside world ignite dangerous curiosity. A glimpse of real laughter, a scene of everyday freedom. For a moment, they remember what normal life feels like. Then, the fear returns and the devices are buried, burned, or smashed. Still, curiosity spreads quietly. Among the young elite, especially those educated abroad, there is a growing awareness that the outside world is not as monstrous as they've been taught. But awareness is not freedom. They return home to the same walls, the same eyes watching. Their silence becomes their inheritance. Within this framework, isolation becomes a form of identity. The inner circle defines itself by separation, from the poor, from foreigners, even from one another. This separation reinforces the illusion of purity. It convinces them that they are different, chosen, essential. It is the same illusion that sustains every monarchy, every dictatorship, every divine right. The belief that proximity to power confers sanctity. But beneath this sanctity lies decay. The longer isolation endures, the more distorted reality becomes. Ministers begin to believe their own propaganda. Advisors fear giving honest counsel. Policies are made to please rather than to succeed. The result is a system that functions perfectly, until it doesn't. Outside observers often wonder how such a regime can survive in the modern world. The answer lies not in technology or military might, but in psychology. North Korea has perfected the art of internalized control, a system so effective that even its architects are trapped within it. The inner circle may hold the keys to the regime's survival, but those keys open no doors. They are prisoners of their own privilege. At night, when the capital sleeps, a few of them stare out from their balconies, watching the faint lights along the Taedong River. They can hear the distant hum of generators from Kim's palace. Somewhere beyond the city, the rest of the country fades into darkness. They think about the people outside the walls, the farmers, the soldiers, the children. They wonder what it feels like to live without constant scrutiny. And then they remember that wondering itself is dangerous. The next morning, they will wake, smile, attend meetings, and repeat the same phrases of devotion. Their lives will continue, measured not in years, but in acts of submission. The rhythm of control will resume, steady and relentless. In this world, isolation is not an accident. It is the system's greatest achievement. A masterpiece of control so complete that even those at the top no longer know where freedom begins. There is a point when control stops feeling external and becomes something deeper, an instinct. Within Kim Jong Un's inner circle, that transformation is complete. What began as obedience hardens into something more permanent, a reflex that shapes how they breathe, how they think, how they love. To live in that world is to exist in a constant negotiation between comfort and terror, devotion and self-preservation. Every privilege is shadowed by fear, every luxury balanced on the edge of disappearance. The descent into that psychological abyss does not happen suddenly. It begins quietly, through repetition, the daily meetings, the recitations of loyalty, the endless praise. Over time, these rituals hollow out thought, replacing it with survival reflex. The elite learn to calculate their every move, not for success or ambition, but for safety. They are no longer individuals, but extensions of the leader's will, a living mirror of his moods. In this phase of the story, we leave the palaces and offices and enter the silence inside their minds. Because beneath the facade of perfection, cracks run deep. The men and women who rule North Korea's machinery of power are haunted by the same demons they help sustain. Their nightmares are not of revolution or war, but of the midnight knock at the door. Imagine being a general in your 50s. You have served under 3 generations of the Kim dynasty. Your medals gleam, your photographs hang in military halls. Your loyalty has been tested beyond question, yet you sleep lightly. You know that loyalty is not armor, it is a leash. You remember the night when General Ri Yong-ho vanished, summoned to a meeting and never seen again. You remember Jang Song-taek, Kim's own uncle, once the second most powerful man in the country, suddenly accused of treason and executed in front of his closest aides. You remember the air of dread that followed, how every conversation in Pyongyang became quieter, how no one dared to speak his name. Now you keep your thoughts hidden even from yourself. You practice silence like prayer. You smile when cameras appear. You clap at the right tempo. You know that one moment of hesitation can erase your entire lineage. You are not afraid of dying. You are afraid of being forgotten. In North Korea, erasure is worse than death. For the wives of the inner circle, isolation takes a different shape. They are expected to embody loyalty in domestic form, to host gatherings, to display perfect manners, to whisper praises of the leader at dinner parties. They compete quietly for access, for proximity, for glimpses of Kim Jong Un's favor. Their beauty routines are state-managed. Imported creams, tailored dresses, sometimes even cosmetic surgery performed in elite clinics run by military doctors. These privileges are symbols of status, but they are also reminders of subservience. A beautiful face can become a liability if admired by the wrong eyes. Behind the laughter of social events, an invisible tension hums. Every woman knows her husband's position depends not only on his work but on her discretion. A careless comment at a banquet, a misinterpreted glance, a missing bow, any of these can trigger suspicion. So they learn the same reflexes, how to perform ease, how to disguise fear, how to survive by pretending. And then there are the children, the inheritors of isolation. They grow up surrounded by walls and handlers, educated in schools where their lineage is both privilege and curse. They ride in chauffeured cars, learn music and languages, play sports, but always within the boundaries of control. Their friends are chosen by the state. Their teachers are state agents. They learn from the start that the outside world is a virus. Foreign books are forbidden. Internet access is filtered through firewalls thicker than fortresses. Yet curiosity finds cracks. A few of these children, especially those sent abroad for education, see beyond the myth. They live for years in Switzerland, China, or Russia under false names, watched by minders but still exposed to glimpses of freedom. When they return, something in them no longer fits. They smile and salute like before, but inside, a quiet dissonance grows. The streets of Pyongyang feel too silent, the air too heavy, the smiles too uniform. They carry memories they cannot share. Laughter without fear, music without propaganda, friendships without suspicion. Some bury those memories, others let them fester until they become invisible scars. Occasionally, one of them breaks. A whispered question in class, a moment of defiance, a refusal to sing a propaganda song. The response is immediate: removal, re-education, disappearance. These acts are not punished for their content, but for their contagion. Doubt is the most dangerous disease in North Korea, and it spreads faster than hunger. Inside the compounds, emotional distance becomes the norm. Love is dangerous. Empathy is suspicious. Parents teach their children affection quietly, in gestures too small to notice: a longer hug, a secret smile, a bedtime story whispered when the power cuts. They never say the word love. In this world, love is subversion. Fear, on the other hand, is allowed to exist openly. Fear is the state's most reliable currency. It pays for loyalty, buys silence, and sustains the illusion of unity. It is everywhere, in the guards outside, in the radio announcements, in the sudden blackouts when power is rerouted to the leader's residence. Even the sounds of the city are curated: military anthems, loudspeakers, the hum of disciplined life. Silence is not absence, it is command. For some, fear becomes faith. They convince themselves that Jong Un is truly divine. It is easier than living with the uncertainty of doubt. They memorize his speeches, study his photographs, cry when his name is mentioned. The emotion feels real, but it is not love. It is submission, disguised as reverence. The regime's greatest trick is making obedience feel sacred. Every few years, mass loyalty events reinforce this illusion. Tens of thousands gather in Pyongyang's Kim Il-sung Square to perform synchronized movements in perfect precision. From above, it looks beautiful, an ocean of red and white, moving as one. But within that choreography lies something darker. Each performer knows that missing a beat, fainting, or showing fatigue could mark them as disloyal. The beauty of the spectacle is born from fear. The unity is forged in terror. The inner circle attends these events from shaded viewing platforms, applauding as the masses bow. For them, it is a reminder of their own position, above the people, yet beneath the leader. They too are performers, just on a smaller stage. At night, when the parades end and the floodlights fade, the facade cracks. Inside their guarded villas, the elite drink imported whiskey, play soft Western jazz on smuggled records, whisper in low voices. Alcohol loosens tongues, and for a few hours, truth leaks out in fragments. One complains about shortages, another recalls his time abroad. Someone jokes too sharply about the supreme leader's weight. The laughter is nervous, short-lived. Because everyone in the room knows, one of them will report this conversation by morning. It is not hatred that sustains this betrayal, it is habit. They have learned to survive by feeding the machine that devours them. Each denunciation is a small act of self-preservation. Each lie is a shield against suspicion. The system forces them to participate in their own oppression. Every regime built on fear eventually breeds paranoia. In Kim's North Korea, that paranoia is institutionalized. The inner circle's movements are tracked by the State Security Department, the elite branch known as Bureau 10. Their phones, when allowed, are bugged. Their offices have hidden microphones. Even their drivers are trained informants. The illusion of privilege hides a reality of constant scrutiny. Once in a while, the paranoia turns inward. A minister receives a summons, an unexpected meeting. He doesn't know why. His wife packs his bag silently. She doesn't ask questions. At the checkpoint, guards salute but avoid eye contact. In the car, he rehearses every decision he's made, every word he's spoken, searching for the mistake he cannot identify. By the time he arrives at the compound, it no longer matters. He knows. The meeting room is small, cold. The officials inside do not greet him. The questioning begins. By dawn, he has confessed to crimes he never committed. Within days, his name is erased. His family receives no announcement. They are moved to a smaller residence, then to the countryside, then to a camp. The silence that follows is absolute. Neighbors avoid the topic. Friends pretend they never knew him. This ritual of vanishing serves as both punishment and purification. It keeps the remaining loyalists afraid enough to stay loyal. The psychological descent continues in the smallest details of daily life. Meals are eaten under portraits of the Kims. Television broadcasts praise the leader's achievements even during crises. Children's songs mix patriotism with devotion. Birthdays and holidays revolve around the same singular figure, Jong Un. Individual identity dissolves into collective worship. Even joy becomes state property, and yet within this suffocating control, traces of humanity survive. A guard sneaks food to a hungry worker. A driver delays a report about his master's drunken comment. A mother risks punishment to teach her child a forbidden song she remembers from before the famine. These small acts of defiance rarely change anything, but they preserve a fragment of the soul. In some rare cases, defiance becomes escape. Over the decades, a few members of the elite have fled: scientists, musicians, bodyguards. Their stories, when they surface, sound like fiction. Forged passports, border crossings under fire, weeks hiding in Chinese basements before reaching safety. But even in freedom, they remain haunted. Their families left behind suffer consequences they can't undo. Their new lives are spent looking over their shoulders, forever trapped between guilt and gratitude. One defector once described it simply, "We lived like gods in a small hell." Those words capture the paradox of Kim's inner circle. They have everything the rest of the country lacks: electricity, food, medicine, security, yet none of the things that make life worth living. They exist in a gilded isolation so complete that even their emotions are censored. As the years pass, some become numb. They perform their duties mechanically, smile without meaning, repeat slogans without conviction. Others break down quietly: anxiety, insomnia, addiction. The state provides psychiatrists, but their role is not to heal. It is to monitor. A doctor's report can end a career faster than any accusation. So pain is buried, denied, transformed into obedience. In private, a few cling to religion, secretly, quietly. Christianity is outlawed, but fragments of faith persist. A small cross carved into wood, a whispered prayer at night. These gestures carry immense risk, yet they provide a fleeting sense of connection to something greater than fear. For a moment, they remember what hope feels like. Outside their walled compounds, the rest of North Korea continues its struggle: famine, blackouts, arrests. But the elite only hear filtered reports. Their televisions show smiling farmers, new factories, loyal citizens. The illusion sustains them. Believing the lie is easier than confronting the truth. Still, every lie requires maintenance, and the weight of maintaining it grows heavier each year. Kim's circle grows smaller, more paranoid, more brittle. The children who were raised in obedience now raise children of their own. Children who ask questions they cannot answer. The machinery of fear keeps turning, but its hum has changed. Beneath it, there is a faint tremor, an exhaustion that no one dares to name. When night falls over Pyongyang, the skyline glows faintly from the few districts that have power. Somewhere in the distance, music from a loudspeaker drifts through the dark, praising the eternal sun of the nation. Inside the palaces, guards patrol in silence. Ministers sit at desks writing reports that no one will read. Wives stare at mirrors, rehearsing their smiles. Children dream of cities they've only seen in contraband videos, and Kim Jong Un, alone in one of his residences, walks through corridors lined with marble and mirrors. His reflection follows him endlessly, multiplied across walls, corridors, and time. The loneliness he imposes on his nation has circled back upon him. Even he, the architect of fear, is a prisoner of it. The descent is complete. What remains is not life but performance, an endless act played before an invisible audience. In this theater of isolation, everyone knows their role. No one knows how to stop the play. It begins with whispers, rumors that slip through the cracks of silence. In North Korea, truth travels like contraband, smuggled in fragments, coded in stories, carried by those willing to risk everything. These fragments, once assembled, reveal a world hidden behind the curtain of isolation. The world of Kim Jong-un's inner circle is not only about power, it is about the architecture of illusion that protects it. To see it clearly, one must step behind the curtain. Beyond the parades, beyond the spotless boulevards of Pyongyang, lies a network of secret places that sustain the regime's facade. Palaces, bunkers, pleasure compounds, underground railways, all built for one purpose: to preserve the image of control, even when the world outside crumbles. Satellite images have exposed parts of this world, glimpses of sprawling mansions nestled in mountain valleys, connected by private roads that never appear on public maps. There are more than a dozen known residences scattered across the country, each one designed for both comfort and escape. Some are near the sea, guarded by naval patrols. Others sit deep in forests, camouflaged by the landscape. The largest, the Ryong-song residence, sits just outside Pyongyang, a self-contained fortress with its own train station, shooting range, and underground tunnel system that stretches for miles. Inside these palaces, time operates differently. Imported marble floors shine under chandeliers from Vienna. European wines fill the cellars. Staff are trained in etiquette schools that teach the language of servitude: how to bow, how to smile, how to vanish. The kitchens are stocked with delicacies that ordinary citizens have never seen: caviar, crab, truffles, even pizza ingredients flown in from Italy. Chefs who fail to please are reassigned to agricultural duties, a euphemism whispered with dread. But even here, luxury has limits. Surveillance follows like a shadow. The staff live in separate quarters, isolated from each other. They are not allowed to leave the compound without written authorization. They eat separately, sleep under curfew, and undergo monthly loyalty inspections. Every gift Kim receives, a bottle of wine, a cigar, a watch, is catalogued and photographed. The items are not possessions. They are symbols of power, reminders of global reach. One of the most secretive facilities is known as the Command Compound, a subterranean complex designed for continuity of government in case of war or uprising. It is said to contain a communication center, living quarters, and an escape route leading directly to the Chinese border. Officially, it does not exist. Its corridors are lined with murals depicting the Kim family as gods descending from Mount Pektu. The air inside smells of steel and incense, a mix of military precision and divine mythology. For the elite, access to these spaces is both privilege and punishment. To be invited means you are trusted enough to serve. To be excluded means you are one step closer to irrelevance. Yet few ever relax there. Even within the palaces, eyes watch from behind mirrored glass. Every movement is recorded, every conversation transcribed. The geography of isolation is precise. The elite live within concentric circles of privilege. At the very core lies Kim Jong Un and his immediate family, the sacred nucleus. Surrounding them are the trusted ministers, military commanders, and personal aides who manage the machinery of the state. Beyond that, the outer ring, the extended elite, diplomats, scientists, artists, and party loyalists who enjoy status but remain expendable. Each ring is bound by fear of the one above. This hierarchy extends to transportation. While ordinary citizens travel on overcrowded buses or bicycles, the inner circle moves through invisible pathways. A private train network connects Kim's residences across the country, painted in dull green to avoid attention. The train is equipped with bulletproof glass, satellite communications, and a special car that carries armored vehicles. When the train moves, entire stretches of track are cleared and secured by soldiers. Villages along the route are placed under temporary lockdown. Locals are forbidden to look at the passing convoy. To be seen gazing at the leader's train is to invite suspicion. Kim's private jet, an Ilyushin Il-62, known as Chamai-1, is similarly protected. Few in his circle have ever boarded it. For most officials, even high-ranking ones, air travel abroad is forbidden unless accompanied by political minders. Those who do travel must leave their families behind, a silent guarantee that they will return. Beneath all this lies an even deeper infrastructure: the tunnels. Miles of subterranean passages connect key government sites, military bases and palaces. Some are wide enough for vehicles, others are narrow, meant for foot soldiers and couriers. These tunnels serve multiple purposes: transportation, storage, escape. But symbolically, they represent something more profound: the subterranean nature of power in North Korea. Everything important happens out of sight. Rumors suggest that one of these tunnels leads from Kim's main palace to the underground bunker of his father, Kim Jong-il, and from there to a secret metro line reserved for the elite. The line allegedly extends beneath Pyongyang, with hidden stations accessible only to senior officials. It is said to run parallel to the public metro, a ghost system mirroring the one ordinary citizens use. The existence of this second metro has never been confirmed, but defectors speak of faint rumbles beneath the city at night, long after the public trains stop running. These hidden infrastructures are not just about protection, they are about theater. Each secret reinforces the mythology of Kim's omnipresence. To his followers, he is not confined by geography. He can appear anywhere, disappear at will, move like a phantom through the country. The palaces and tunnels serve the same psychological function as his statues. They make him eternal. Inside the inner circle, this omnipresence breeds a different kind of fear. Officials live knowing that Kim could be watching, listening, judging at any moment. The uncertainty keeps them loyal. Surveillance cameras are visible reminders, but the real power lies in the invisible ones, the suspicion that no space is private. Even when alone, the elite speak softly, avoiding certain words, certain tones. Silence becomes a second language. Outside observers often imagine the inner circle as uniformly loyal, but that is a myth carefully cultivated by the regime. Beneath the surface, factions exist. Rivalries simmer quietly. Military versus party, intelligence versus propaganda. Each faction seeks proximity to Kim because proximity is survival. But proximity also brings danger. The closer one stands to the fire, the easier it is to burn. When power shifts, it happens without warning. One week, a general is praised on state television. The next, his image is gone. No explanation is given. His subordinates pretend not to notice. The message is clear: in this system, history is fluid. The past can be rewritten overnight. The most extreme example of this erasure was the fall of Jang Song-thaek, Kim Jong Un's uncle. Once considered the regime's second-in-command, Jang controlled the flow of foreign investment and managed the regime's ties with China. In 2013, he was accused of betraying the party and the revolution. The official report described him as worse than a dog. State television aired his public humiliation, his hands bound, his head bowed. Before announcing his execution, his name was deleted from archives, his photographs doctored, his associates purged. To this day, his fate serves as a warning. No bloodline guarantees safety. Even those who carry the Kim name live under scrutiny. Family members who show disobedience are exiled, sometimes killed. The myth of divine lineage requires constant purification. To sustain the illusion of godhood, even gods must bleed in secret. Beyond the palaces, another kind of isolation thrives, the hidden luxury reserved for entertainment. Known as the pleasure brigades, these units consist of young women selected from across the country, trained in dance, music, and etiquette. Their purpose is to entertain the upper ranks during private gatherings. Officially, they are art troupes. Unofficially, they are symbols of indulgence and control. Their selection is a ritual of dominance, each performance a reminder that power extends over bodies as much as minds. Defectors have described the strange duality of these gatherings: On the surface, they resemble elite banquets anywhere in the world. Music, laughter, fine food. But beneath the surface there is tension. Guards line the walls. Laughter sounds rehearsed. The air smells of perfume and fear. The women dance with precision, their smiles unwavering, their eyes empty. When the music stops, the silence feels unbearable. These scenes are not about pleasure. They are about theater. They reinforce the hierarchy of power, the illusion that Kim's inner circle lives in abundance, while the rest of the country endures scarcity. But even within these moments of supposed joy, the participants are prisoners. The performers are watched. The guests are watched. Everyone acts. No one believes. It is this theater of control that sustains the regime. Every banquet, every military parade, every televised speech is part of the same performance, a display of perfection for an audience that must pretend to be convinced. The actors are not the citizens, they are the elites themselves. Occasionally, the outside world catches a glimpse behind the curtain. Leaked photographs of Kim's yachts anchored in secluded bays, satellite images of luxury cars parked beside mountain villas, imported goods from Europe, disguised as construction materials. Each leak sparks brief outrage, but then the curtain falls again. The performance continues. For the inner circle, these glimpses are dangerous. When a photograph surfaces abroad, investigations begin at home. Who leaked it? Who spoke to foreigners? Who failed to contain the narrative? Fear ripples through the hierarchy. Files are reviewed. Phones are seized. Interrogations begin. In a system built on illusion, exposure is a crime greater than treason. Yet even as the regime guards its secrets, technology begins to betray it. Smuggled Chinese smartphones, hidden cameras, encrypted messaging. All these tools chip away at isolation. A single photograph taken by a brave insider can unravel layers of deception. The regime fights back with digital firewalls and death sentences, but the cracks widen. Information, like light, always finds a way in. Inside the inner circle, awareness grows quietly. The children of the elite watch South Korean dramas on hidden USBs. They recognize the difference between the world they were taught to fear and the one they secretly envy. They see streets with lights that stay on all night, restaurants without guards, couples who hold hands in public. For them, the revelation is devastating, not because they want to escape, but because they realize they never truly lived. This knowledge becomes the regime's most dangerous enemy. It cannot be bombed or silenced. It lives in the mind. Once seen, it cannot be unseen. The illusion fractures. The gods become men. The prison becomes visible. For now, the inner circle continues to play its part. The dinners are held. The parades march on. The leader smiles from his balcony. But beneath the surface, the world is shifting. Fear is no longer enough. Isolation, once absolute, has begun to erode. The exposure is not sudden. It is a slow awakening, a collective realization that the curtain cannot stay closed forever. The palaces, the tunnels, the pleasure compounds, all of it, for all its secrecy, cannot hide the truth forever. That power, sustained by fear, eventually consumes itself. And when that day comes, when the lights in Pyongyang's compounds flicker, when the silence breaks, it will not be the masses who bring change. It will be the ghosts inside the palaces, the ones who finally see the walls for what they are. Night descends over Pyongyang like a slow-moving tide, and with it comes silence, the kind that feels both peaceful and oppressive. The wide avenues are empty again. The neon lights of the propaganda billboards flicker, and the gaze of the leaders' portraits glows faintly from every corner. Inside the guarded compounds, lights remain on longer. Curtains are drawn. Conversations soften into whispers. Here, in the heart of secrecy, the last act of the performance unfolds quietly. This is where the truth hides, not in the speeches or the monuments, but in the stillness between them. When the cameras are off, when the slogans fade, when the guards close the gates for the night, what remains are human beings, stripped of their performance. Men and women who have spent their lives orbiting a sun they cannot escape, knowing that its warmth can turn to fire at any moment. Imagine walking through one of Kim Jong Un's palaces at midnight. The halls are lined with marble, the air faintly perfumed, the chandeliers dimmed. The sound of footsteps echoes down long corridors that seem to lead nowhere. On the walls hang portraits, Kim Il-sung smiling, Kim Jong-il pointing toward an invisible horizon, Kim Jong Un gazing forward as though into eternity. In these faces, generations of power converge, but behind the oil and canvas lies a simple truth. All of them were afraid. The mythology of the Kims was built on divine certainty, men born of mountains destined to rule. But behind closed doors, the inner circle knows that myth is fragile. They know the rehearsed stories of supernatural births and celestial omens are fiction. They know the endless victories declared on state television are illusions, yet they continue to applaud, to praise, to kneel, not because they believe, but because belief has become indistinguishable from survival. In this final act, what remains is the weight of that survival. The realization that a life lived in isolation is not truly a life. It is a performance without an audience. The elite who dine in gold-plated halls, who travel in armored convoys, who sleep behind reinforced glass, are no freer than the citizens who till the fields. They are merely confined within larger, more luxurious cages. The regime they sustain feeds on fear, but fear feeds on them in return. It devours their peace, their families, their ability to feel. Every decision they make, every word they speak, carries the same unspoken question. What if this is the one that ends me? And so they live not in the present, but in perpetual anticipation, of inspection, of suspicion, of betrayal. There is a saying among defectors, in North Korea, even silence has a sound. That sound is the pulse of fear, the quiet heartbeat that connects every member of the inner circle to the machinery of control. It hums beneath every meeting, every dinner, every smile. It is the true national anthem of the regime. But silence, when it lasts too long, becomes unbearable. It begins to crack under its own weight, and within those cracks, something new starts to grow. Not rebellion, not defiance, but awareness. Awareness that the system, for all its perfection, is unsustainable. Awareness that fear cannot reproduce itself forever. Awareness that the walls they built to keep the world out have also kept them trapped within. For decades, the Kim dynasty has ruled by dividing its people, rich from poor, believer from skeptic, loyalist from traitor. Yet within the isolation of the elite, the same divisions now mirror themselves. There are those who cling to the old faith, believing that the outside world is chaos and that only the leader can protect them. And there are those who have glimpsed too much, who have seen the cracks, who have tasted a freedom they can never admit aloud. They are not revolutionaries. They are survivors. But even survival begins to lose meaning when it serves nothing beyond itself. The inner circle's tragedy is not that they are cruel. It is that they are complicit. Many of them entered the system as children, inheriting the fear of their parents. They did not choose this life. They were born into it. And by the time they realized the truth, escape was no longer possible. Every path out is lined with ghosts, family members punished, friends executed, neighbors vanished. The only way to live is to keep pretending that the performance is real. Outside observers often ask, why doesn't someone in the inner circle simply end it? Why not rise up, expose the truth, overthrow the regime? But revolutions are not born from knowledge alone. They require faith in something beyond fear. And fear in North Korea is a religion. It binds more deeply than ideology. It shapes identity itself. To renounce it is to step into the void. Still, the void is growing, slowly, quietly, invisibly. Each generation of the elite feels it more strongly. The old guards, the generals, the party veterans cling to ritual. The young ones, educated abroad or exposed to foreign media, struggle to reconcile what they've seen with what they are forced to live. They recognize the absurdity of the myths, the decay of the system, the hollowness of the praise. They smile in public, but their eyes betray fatigue. They play the game, but with less conviction. The future of the regime depends on that conviction, and it is fading. History has shown that regimes like this rarely collapse from outside pressure. They implode from within, from exhaustion, from disbelief, from the moment when those who enforce the rules no longer believe in them. It is not a question of if, but of when. And in that inevitability lies the quiet irony. The same isolation that once protected the elite will one day destroy them. The walls built to keep truth out will eventually trap them when truth seeps in from beneath. As dawn approaches, the first sound in Pyongyang is the distant hum of propaganda broadcasts. Loudspeakers wake the city with hymns to the great leader, the same melody that has opened every morning for decades. For most citizens, it is background noise. For the inner circle, it is a reminder, a signal that the performance continues. The curtain has not fallen yet. Jong Un himself remains the greatest symbol of this paradox. He walks through halls adorned with portraits of ancestors he must both honor and surpass. Every decision he makes must echo their legacy. Every smile must match their myth. His isolation is the deepest of all. Surrounded by thousands, he stands alone. His power depends on the illusion of omnipotence. But omnipotence allows no intimacy. He cannot confide in anyone, cannot show weakness, cannot love without suspicion. He is trapped within his own creation, a man worshipped as a god, yet haunted by the knowledge that gods die when people stop believing. And so he too performs. His laughter, his inspections, his speeches, all rehearsed, all recorded, all watched. His subjects see a confident leader. His inner circle sees a careful actor. The line between the two has long since vanished. The world outside watches through screens, analyzing his gestures, speculating on his health, decoding his absences. But what they cannot see is the silence that follows him everywhere. The silence of a country frozen in performance, of millions living behind masks, of an inner circle trapped within its own privilege. When the lights go out at night, that silence deepens. In some rooms, tears are shed quietly. In others, bottles are opened. In others, still, prayers are whispered, not to God, but to fate. They do not ask for freedom, only for another day of safety. The bar for hope has been set low. Beyond the city, the mountains stand still. The rivers flow toward borders they cannot cross. Somewhere along those borders, in the darkness, a few souls are moving, traders, smugglers, defectors, carrying with them the smallest sparks of truth. Each spark that escapes makes the darkness inside burn just a little less bright. And perhaps that is how the walls will finally fall, not with explosions or speeches, but with erosion, one whisper at a time. When historians look back on this era, they will see the visible symbols, the parades, the missiles, the grand declarations. But the real story will be the unseen one, the slow collapse of illusion within the hearts of those who sustained it. The inner circle, for all their power, are the first to sense it. They may not act upon it, but they feel it in their bones. The fatigue, the emptiness, the quiet understanding that nothing built on fear can last forever. In the end, isolation was never meant to be eternal. It can imprison a nation, but not indefinitely. It can silence truth, but not erase it. Even in North Korea, where silence has been weaponized, where reality itself bends to propaganda, the human desire to know, to understand, to connect, to be free, still flickers beneath the surface. Perhaps one day, when the walls finally crack, when the masks fall away, when the silence lifts, those who lived in the shadows of the regime will speak. They will tell of dinners where laughter was forced, of children who feared their own parents, of friendships erased by suspicion. They will tell of palaces that felt like prisons, of faith built on lies, of lives lived entirely within performance. And the world will listen, not with judgment but with awe, realizing that even in the most controlled society on earth, humanity never fully dies. Until that day, the world can only watch and imagine the secret corridors, the guarded villas, the lonely leader, the fearful ministers, the silent servants, the children dreaming of light, all of them connected by the same invisible thread, isolation. And in that isolation lies the final revelation. Jong Un's inner circle does not live apart from the rest of North Korea. They are its reflection. The same fear that silences the farmer silences the minister. The same illusion that blinds the child blinds the general. The same longing for truth haunts them all. Power has trapped them in its own orbit, a circle with no exit, spinning endlessly under the weight of its own secrecy. But even circles decay, even orbits collapse. The center cannot hold forever, And when it breaks, the sound will not be an explosion, but a sigh, a collective exhale from a nation that has been holding its breath for too long. Until then, the lights in the palaces will keep shining, the parades will keep marching, the cameras will keep filming. The illusion will endure a little longer. But beneath the marble floors and the polished portraits, the cracks are spreading. Every empire begins with a myth. Every myth ends with silence. And in the silence of Pyongyang's nights, the truth waits, patient, inevitable, unafraid.